Hey, how you doing, everybody? Justin Skizek here from the Rise Up podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, evening, wherever you're watching or listening in from. I am here with Mr. John Campbell. He is an amazing realtor out of Beverly Hills, California at Revel Real Estate Group. And we're going to dive into his journey. He's got an amazing story to tell here. We're going to dive into that in a minute. But first, John, welcome to the Rise Up podcast. Appreciate you spending some time
Appreciate
with
it,
me.
Jeff. Thank you very much.
All
Yep,
right.
I'm John Campbell, John Campbell Group within, as you so rightly said, Revel Real Estate. And we are based here in Beverly Hills.
So, how's Beverly Hills today? How's it handling?
Hot.
Hot today.
Well, it's about 90 degrees out there. With the summer's finally arrived, and
Yeah.
it is hot. So that's how it is. Hot and
You know,
bothered. I would.
I lived in Southern California for like 21 years. My wife is from San Diego. I lived in San Diego. Most people don't realize that August and September is like one of the hottest months. It's not June.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not.
And it seems to come a little bit later this year
Yeah.
anyway. But no,
It's hot today. Well, I appreciate you sweating it out with me, man. We're going to sweat it out together. All right. So tell me, if you could, give me kind of the lay of the land of John Campbell Group. How did that form? How did you partner with Revel? Give me the kind of the lay of the land here, and then we'll dive into your own personal journey within real estate.
yeah, absolutely. So I've been in real estate here in LA for I think this is year 11, over 10 years. And prior to that, I was you may be able to tell from my accent, I'm actually from the Bronx in New York. That's where I'm really from. I'm from London, England. But yeah, I started with the real estate side. I started with KW actually here in also in Beverly Hills, and I kind of had my eye on the luxury market straight out of the gate. And then I was with them for a couple of years. Then I was working with a great guy, Peter Lorimer, over at PLG Estates, more of a boutique type brand. Then we kind of got absorbed into what was like a kind of a West Coast rollout for Corcoran out of from New York. And they were doing Corcoran Global Living here on the West Coast, and that was great. But there was kind of failed. I think the rollout kind of business model was a little bit old. They were buying these boutique brokerages, and then when the market shifted for whatever reason, it was above my pay grade. It didn't really work out. So I was looking for a new home. I had a decent, it's always want to move when you got the numbers. So I'd had a decent year the year before, and I went and I interviewed with. I just sat down and had casual meetings with. I had warm meetings. I didn't just walk off the street. I had someone set up a meeting, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
With
Okay.
about 7 of the top firms here, and I really enjoyed the founder of our brokerage. We're part of Side, and the founder of our brokerage is Ben Bacall, and Ben's a mega agent here. Locally, we do a few gigs together from time to time. We just sold something for 10 million in Brentwood and got some things coming up. But he just sold something for 86 million in Holmby
Jeez.
Hill. He's a mega agent and a really good dude. Out of all the people I sat down with, and I did have a good choice of other places to go, I just really liked his ethos and what he had in mind. He's been a disruptor of the industry for a while. He's one of the first people that was really doing the drone videos and the walking, talking, and almost the narratives of videos, etc. 10 years plus ago. When now everybody does it, obviously,
Yeah.
but back then it was a bit more. Wasn't he was one of the first people. So I regulated with that, and he had a great name, had a reasonably decent name. He's got a great name locally, and we serve the whole of LA, but we're in Beverly Hills, and we do a lot of stuff. Beverly Hills, Hollywood Hills, Brentwood. I've got listings right now from Malibu, which is an hour that way,
Yeah.
to Eagle Rock or Mount Washington, which is like an hour that way, because Los Angeles is a really
Big
massive
area. Yeah.
area. Yeah, it's hard to wrap
Yeah.
your mind around. But predominantly the luxury stuff is in within a most of it really, maybe it's a little further, is within a kind of 5, 6 mile circumference of our office. So we're very well geographically
Yeah.
located, and we're doing some good business from
Yeah,
time
which
to
is fun which is funny because, like, it could be 2 miles down the road, it still could take you an hour to get there.
no, it could, but when people say, "Oh my god, the LA traffic," it's kind of like it's interesting. I've got my wife is British. I'm from London, as we said, and my father-in-law, who's a stand-up comedian, what a character. I would have him here for a minute for laugh value. He's going to Vegas to meet a friend there. So some guy straight out of The Sopranos for an evening tonight. He's catching up with a buddy. So I was actually he's been with me on a few. I've just took him with me on listing appointments and meetings and stuff. We've been friends for years. I've been with his daughter 20 years. We met 20 years ago in September, but I've been
Awesome.
friends with him for about 30 years. I didn't even know he had a daughter when we first met. Anyway, so he was saying we was on the 405, which I believe might be the most congested road in America, or one of them.
Yeah.
And he's going, "Oh my god, look at all that traffic!" And I was like, he goes, "Don't it bother you?" And I went, "Do you know what? If you're going in the wrong direction at the right time, at the wrong time of day, then it's murderous. Most of the time, I'm going against traffic, and now just automatically set my schedule or meetings, or oh no, you want to meet at 5? No, let's do 7. The traffic's cleared,
Yeah.
or you want to meet
'Cause
at
it's literally, like, 30 minutes later, it's completely gone. It's crazy how that works.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't say completely, but it's easier.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know what you yeah.
It can be grim, but if you're going in the right direction at the right time of day, then it's very seldom I'm really sitting in heavy traffic, but I can't
Yeah.
say it never happens.
Well, okay, you mentioned this, like, just briefly. You kinda, like, breezed past it a little bit, and I wanna dive into it a little bit more if you don't mind exploring it. Is what drew you to luxury real estate in the first place? You said you had a you said you like that, and that's the area you wanted to focus in on. Like, why?
Yeah. So I was an actor. I've been acting like I think close to 30 years. Yeah, probably. And that was what drew me to the States in the first place. So, besides what anyone might tell you, getting a visa to come and live and work in this country is no mean feat, and I'm sure it's not getting any easier. But it's always been very tough, even though England and America have this great relationship. They go to war together, etc. It's no joke trying to get a visa. It's almost an impossibility. And against all odds, I've done quite a lot. I've done like 50, over 50 movies, and I did a big music video at the weekend actually. But I still do a bit of now it's more like a hobby. I dip my toe in, but so that's what drew me here in the first place. And real estate had always been a kind of a second string. And I bought my first house when I was 21 years old. This is a very long time ago. I actually bought my. It's kind of like an old couple brought me up, but kind of like my grandparents. They run into trouble with their mortgage, and I bought their house for them when I was 21 years old, and that was a rude awakening. My interest rate was 13.5% at the time.
Woo!
It's like end of the 80s, early 90s, and there was a massive
Yeah.
in the UK. But that was, but over time, I was very blue collar, working class background. I was a boxer, and I was in entertainment and etc. And but it taught me that you can accumulate wealth. You don't have to be a rocket science to understand real estate and appreciation, etc. So so that was my introduction to it, and I think that kind of good karma, for want of a better word, has served me very well during my career. And then through the film and TV, I had a whole network of those folks, but actors, writers, producers, etc. My first deal was a director, actually a director buddy of mine, who I met at the Cannes Film Festival many moons ago. Also, I only bought a regular house. He's still got it, but actually, I spoke to him in a week. He's thinking about maybe selling it now. But yeah, that was my tribe, for want of a better word. So that's where I was. I can't speak for anybody else, but in my experience, you're selling to the people initially anyway, the people kind of know, sort of know that you're friends with. And and then there was a part of me that thought like, well, it's a very similar process. The process is the same. The car forms are the same. I know in California, the realtor is responsible for all of the paperwork, so it can be quite academic. There's um there's over 200 pages, 40 documents in the life of an escrow, all sorts of stuff. And you're responsible for all of that. Where other states, I know lawyers do a lot of the work, and in London, in the UK, they're called conveyancing solicitors. They do the bulk of the paperwork. But in California, we're down to do it all. So I was like, well, look, it's pretty academic, and it's a quite a the process isn't so different whether you're now my market entry level here, like you're pushed. A house is becoming $1 million entry level.
Yeah.
You can get some stuff for a little less in a little bit more of a hood type place or up and coming fixer, but it's very much $1 million doesn't buy you a lot, believe it or
Yeah.
not. If you find a nice house here at 1.5, people are like, "Oh wow, that's a steal."
Yeah.
So and then back to the luxury, like in other markets, if you're selling $2-3 million homes, you're in luxury. I don't know if that would even qualify. It's a decent sized home, of course, isn't you get a super nice home for $3 million.
Yeah. Depends on where it is. If it's on the beach for 2 million, that's a steal.
It's on the beach, you'll go like a Portaloo you might get for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 million, I'd say 5 million and on. I kind of think of luxury. 3 million, it's a decent deal. And I like to think that we do things. We try and give the same, which we'll get into, the same white glove service. Whether some of my friends, are out of work actors that are driving Uber, they're serving drinks. Not everybody's earning a Tom Cruise money. He's these the Brad Pitts and stuff of the world. They're the 0.1%. The vast majority are they're waiting tables, they're
Yeah.
driving Uber, etc., etc. So, even crew members, so these guys are your more regular dudes. So we're helping them. You can buy a condo for 700-800 grand. You may find a fixer for $1 million, or in the boonies a little something that's a bit more well done, etc. So we'll work. I like to think we're offering the same service, whether I'm looking after people that I know that are only lucky enough to buy a 300, 400, 500 grand property or whatever. You might get a one-bedroom condo in parts of the valley for that, possibly if you're lucky,
Yeah.
or someone else. We have something in Holmby Hills right now. Holmby Hills, selling managers sold in Holmby Hills for 110 million this year. Another house right down the street sold for the same. Ben, who's in my office, just sold one for 86. We have one on the same street right now for 60 million. Yeah, but I like to think we don't. I won't. We'll give that guy or my friend who's a camera operator who's buying a 500 grand condo the same level of service, but the paperwork's the same. So
Yeah.
the long-winded answer to your question was like, if we're going to go through if we're going to do the same process, maybe if we can do some of the luxury stuff, we'll be better paid for it. But
Yeah.
that
The
does
time and
come with
energy it takes, might as well, right?
yeah, but that does come
Yeah.
with its own challenges, which
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love, let's talk about that. Like, okay, so when you're dealing with a client, like, describe to me the difference. Like, I've never bought a $60 million home. I'd love
Yeah,
to someday. It'd be awesome.
yeah,
If so, you're my guy. But,
yeah, appreciate.
what does it take to sell something like that?
Yeah. So many of these homes won't hit the market. They will from time to time, but a lot of these deals are quiet off market deals because let's face it, someone buying a $60 million house or up is most likely a billionaire or certainly worth hundreds of millions. And that's a pretty small world. And a lot of those people know each other, and then you've got the added layer of you might be dealing with their legal team initially, business managers, accountants, whole teams of people, family offices, etc. So that obviously can make things a little more complicated. Every it can be a house can be a very stressful experience for people. Even the nicest people can get very stressed out about it.
Yeah.
Mm. So, it can be stressful for all parties. So you've got these guys are generally that no one has that level of wealth by accident. So they're very educated, they're very clued up, they have very high expectations, and you have to speak to them I believe they I don't want to be braggart. I don't want to. I think they got to look at you as some kind of a peer. They're not looking to you as the expert. Why are they using you? They
Yeah,
use
it's
work with
true.
somebody who is the expert.
Yeah.
Then you need to this type of deal may be marketed very differently to but principally the same, but very differently. But you need a network of these ultra high wealth individuals to potentially buy the property, and good relationships with the other agents that are representing the same level of clientele.
Yeah.
And then a good international network of your own clients is very helpful, because a lot of these sales are done by overseas buyers that might spend a month, a year in the property, might never even see the property. Nothing surprises me nowadays,
Yeah.
but people,
Yeah.
lots of folks from overseas. So you also may need access to how to market to, overseas markets, et cetera, overseas MLSs, and the like. Like I say, a lot of these things are done off market, and
Mhm.
we have access to all of those things. Like, one, just for example, is like we're part of a TAN, which is Top Agent Network. So you have to be in the top 10% of producers in your area. I can't remember what it is now. It's a pretty big number, to even qualify and pay for, and then only those other people, you're only dealing with your peers within that group. So that's one way of finding out stuff that is happening on and off the market. And then you just need to be affluent and have those relationships with the business managers, with the lawyers, with the
Mhm.
accountants, or even better still, with the principals directly. And, they're only people like everybody else. No one wants to overpay for anything. No
Yeah.
one wants to be under. No one wants to not get their maximum return. People, some people I speak to assume that, oh well, 60 million, 100 million, whatever it might be. They're not going to be worried about the pennies and the pence and the thousand and 10,000. You'll be surprised. They'll be surprised. They'll want to know exactly what did that report cost? What did this cost? What will remediation cost? What's this? What's that? If you don't have those answers, they'll probably find somebody who does.
Yeah.
So
So you better
start
be on
with,
it.
you better be on it. You better be on it, because these
Yeah.
guys have, the payday can be great, but I believe we earn every penny. And as an example, that one that just closed for 86, I was privy to that through much of the journey, and that was like a 12 months. They were subdividing the land, which can be a real issue. It's in
Yeah.
LA, a zone, etc. They subdivided the land, so it was into two parcels, and then two different buyers to buy each parcel. It never came on the market, on the general market, whatsoever. In fact, it was in the Wall Street Journal, actually. But when it hit the press, Real Deal, Wall Street Journal, etc., that was the first that a lot of people had heard of it. So you need those connections to just even have an idea of
Yeah.
what is going on. If you've
Yeah.
only got access, imagine on the other side of the coin. Imagine somebody calls me now and, oh yeah, I'm the business manager from my client in Saudi Arabia, and we're thinking of buying in the LA market. Okay, what are you looking for? Same sort of conversation. How many bedrooms you need? How much living space you
Yeah.
need?
What are you looking for? Yeah.
What are you looking for?
Yeah.
And then, myself, our budget is 60 million, 70 million, whatever it might be. We've seen everything on the market. What else have you got? Or what can you show us
Mhm.
that we can't see for ourselves? With AI, just with your Zillows and your Redfins and your digital type stuff, the MLS distributed to over 300 different outlets, I believe. So
Yeah.
now it's amazing. I'm sure it'll get there in the end. But with the technology is moving so fast, you can buy almost anything on an app right now, right? A few people have tried in the real estate world. It's not quite there yet, but I'm sure maybe one day. and some of the big brokerages here are now have crypto sections. You can now
Yeah.
buy these
Yeah.
big
That's
properties
here to stay, right? It's here.
with
Yeah.
crypto here to stay.
Yeah.
People have so much more access, I believe, nowadays to everything that is out there. So how do what do you have access to? What is your unique proposition? What do you have access to? What relationships do you have with these people? Can chances are when you've got two billionaires either side of a deal, often they might want to meet, or they might never want. They might I absolutely never want to speak to. Sometimes they might feel they want to half negotiate the deal. I mean, I guess this could be true in every price point.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
And
okay,
there's another layer
outside of
of service required.
outside of like those like, $60 million ones, I mean, that's a very, very specific, you know, niche, right?
Yeah,
But you
absolutely.
have a whole 'nother swath of luxury, right? We'll call it 5 million on up to, I don't know, maybe 20 million.
Think of
Like
a
even
number.
twenty
Yeah.
million, probably high, right? So, and obviously in LA, you got all those, got the really wealthy pockets, right? You have the Beverly Hills, you have the Hollywood Hills, you have Brentwood and, all those different pockets. And
Pacific Palisades before half of it burned down, or no?
yeah,
Or that
yeah.
last
Is Malibu entirely, did Malibu entirely burned too?
no, Malibu entirely burnt the last big fires, 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, and everyone thought it's never coming back. Well, some people thought it was never coming back. Then the pandemic happened, and everybody wanted to get out of the East Coast, like New York, or let's go Malibu and
Yeah,
shelter in place, or et cetera. And now the fire codes and the building codes, it's like 2, 3 times the expense to build it than it was then. It was already crazy. Um, and it absolutely came back bigger than ever before, booming. But during the most recent fires, LA is a big geographical area. So
yeah,
you say there's 50, 60 more principalities. Um, it was only really Pacific Palisades, then a little bit of where Pacific Palisades meets Malibu, because there's that on
okay.
one border.
That north side, right? Is that the north
Yeah.
side of,
And
yeah,
the other side of it was Altadena, which is like, and that could be an hour's drive, 45 minutes on the wrong day, an hour on the wrong day,
yeah,
away from it. And both, we helped quite a few folks during that, and terrible, people lost
yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
everything, whether you had, whether some people in Altadena, that had been a blue collar area for a long time.
yeah,
And a lot of these houses have been handed down with generational. So these
yeah,
people, everything all their, everything they owned, not just the sentimental possessions, but all their wealth,
yeah,
generations of wealth gone.
yeah,
Many people weren't insured or
yeah,
very poorly insured, and there's some lawsuits like that that will probably rage on for years to come.
yeah,
In the Palisades is a much more affluent area, and then bits of Malibu and for anybody losing where their kids took their first steps to
yeah.
all their
It's
cherries, they're terrible, terrible,
yeah,
terrible, but some of these people did have the means to buy something for 10 million while they're thinking about it, or 20,
yeah,
or whatever it might be. And funny enough, Santa Monica, the 2 areas next to Pacific Palisades got some incredible, incredible homes in, and 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 then neighboring that, Jason, is Santa Monica, and Santa Monica is right by the beach, and then north of Montana Avenue is like the richest part of Santa Monica. So a lot of the Palisades people went there.
relocated.
Yeah, it's so funny. I actually saw something, I think, on the Real Deal earlier, about this particular house that moved for like almost 15 million. And we had an offering on that, but we never got. But the house in a normal market might have sold for 12 or something, but everybody has thousands of people, thousands of some of the wealthiest people here, many celebrities, tech millionaires, billionaires, etc. Needing somewhere tomorrow. What we're going to do? So that house, that was one side as an example, but it's funny because we've been talking about it for months, and
Yeah,
we do. That's an area we do a few deals, and we were going, wow, that guy was in the right place at the right time. And there's some other folks over there that, for whatever reason, didn't hit the market and now kicking themselves because it was
yeah,
It
Yeah.
was a moment in time, but everyone was scrambling for leases and all of that. And I said right from day one that I think a lot of these people, although they have great pride of ownership in both of these areas, and that, um, now there's no infrastructure. The schools have burnt, the shops have burnt, a lot of it has gone. And the neighboring places got hit a little bit, like Pasadena,
Yeah.
Altadena, Malibu, as we spoke about. So and then the realization is, well, this is our community. Where we raise our kids. We love it here, and they do. But the reality of what it's going to cost to rebuild, and the time it's going to take,
Be a
and
long time.
the
Expensive.
spend, and the
Yeah.
many people. And a lot of these people are older. A lot of older folks that have been in there for a long time. It's like they haven't got the energy, they haven't got the money, the insurance haven't paid out what they were perhaps hoping.
Yeah.
But some people, a few of I had a few very close friends in both communities lost everything. So I've stared the devastation in the eye firsthand. And I had some developers that were buying, that bought a few of these lots in both communities, and I helped some folks who were just, we need to offload them. We just want out. And I said from day one, man, I don't see a lot of these people coming back
Yeah.
because of all the goodwill in the world. But give them 6 months or a year in a new community. The kids are in a new school. They got a new life, new neighbors, new everything, and the cost. Materials have gone up.
Yeah.
Even like in California, a lot of the workforce are Mexican folks, Latin folks. Uh, Now, when you got coupled on top of the fires and whatever, you've got all these ice raids that are going on. But a lot of the workforce, I know, it's crazy, man. A lot of the workforce are now not here. So now everything's gone up, and you've got the tariffs as well. So now you've got Canada lumber charges are up. The
Yeah.
workforce, the cheaper workforce is up. So the cost of rebuilding, even the cost of staging, thing across the board,
Everything. Yeah.
it's forced the prices up. So now, people now to rebuild is it's a massive undertaking. And even now, where are we now? 6, 9 months later, it was January, right? January, so what was 7, 8 months?
Yeah. Somewhere on there.
Only the first few homes have started, actually broken ground, and the permits being done. It was a massive job. I don't know how you'd organise that, but
Yeah.
the army were clearing the lots and
Yeah.
all of that. And then some people weren't happy. They were, I think they were removing the first 6 inches of the debris. Now people are going, we want more, etc. So that's got to be a massive undertaking for
Yeah.
years to come.
Yeah.
Very, very sad.
And one thing that I think saddens me too, of course, like number one, loss of life, loss of, working class people. Like people obviously assume that Pacific Palisades is all wealthy. Well, I mean, a good chunk of it is, but there's a lot of family generations that you mentioned, like people passing homes down. I mean, think about a lot of those like historical homes that have been there, for since the 20s,
Yeah,
like or
yeah,
earlier.
irreplaceable. And on top of that, then you've got, here's something I've not seen anybody talk about. Here's a first, I believe, for a podcast. I could be wrong, but I
All
haven't
right,
seen
go
talk
for it.
about it. So not just, so there's obviously a lot of wealthy folks here, horrible for whoever. My heart really does go out. But also what people happen with Altadena historically actually was where a lot of black folks and people of color were kind of told, you can go and buy over here, like 100 years ago.
Mhm.
So a lot of that is a generational wealth build up from your black and brown community. I have a million friends in that community. Um, and a lot of these folks just don't have the resource, the time. About about 2 years ago, the insurance premiums went up hugely. So a lot of people perhaps that was paid off because it's been passed down forever, had no insurance or very minimal insurance. So really massively underinsured. And then there was payments from FEMA and payments from this, payments from that. So but yeah, a lot of people. a lot of people never got back what they were expecting. And on top of that, which I was alluding to, is you've also imagine this. Imagine the people at the other end of the scale who haven't got a house, may never be able to buy a house. And let's face it, buying a house in I think they're talking about maybe calling a state of emergency on the housing market, right? Because it's so out of step with people's earnings. You know,
Yeah.
I'm on the front end of it. I sit down with people every day. Well, what can we? I earn X amount. What can we buy for that? And I say, look, I'll refer you to a lender who will give you specific chances. Oh, you need to earn this amount, that amount, and the interest rates are, buy a house for $1 million. Interest rates 6.5%, 7%, add
Yeah.
in your property tax, whatever. You've maybe got to come up with, if you can put 20% down, good on you. So that's finding 200 grand is quite a chunk for
Yeah.
plenty of people. And then your payment may be 7, 8 grand a month. When you add it all in, that's a big monthly nut, we would say in the UK.
Yeah.
A big monthly nut to try to find. And there's not many $1 million houses. 2 million, double that. 10 million and
Yeah. You
mine.
start doing the math, it adds up very quick, very quick,
And
you
then
know?
the property tax here is 1.25% of the asking price of the final sales price. So that's quite the chunk of change as well,
Yeah.
especially when you start getting up in these higher price points.
Yeah.
So, but imagine you're at the other end of the scale and you haven't got a house, you're paying rent, and maybe you're Section 8, maybe you've got government assisted rent, housing, whatever it might be. Some of those people spent years getting on that list. They're one parent families. Life's not done treated them well. Perhaps there's been a death to family. Who knows? Terrible
Mhm.
story. And so they finally got Section 8 and their Section 8 vouchers. Now all of that burned down. There's not even, and they're being relocated. And there's no more homes to put them in. There's not many affordable homes. It's a big hot topic right now here.
Yeah.
So where do those people go? They were put in motels, hotels, short term, and trying to find them alternative accommodation. Now, they're talking about mobile home sites and parks, etc. So here's another section of the community that's not been talked about so much. Let's say, who
Yeah.
also lost everything, just the same whether they owned it or not, and now don't have the means, don't have, lost. They might have run away with a carrier bag of stuff, and that's all they've got
Yeah.
to their name.
Yeah.
Not
I was
sad.
just in Hawaii. I was on Maui, so Lahaina burnt down 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and if you've never been there, you wouldn't understand, but if you've been there, you would know that it is not a small area, and these are homes that were right on the water, the historical town burnt down. I mean, it's gone, like, gone, gone. People lost lives, and same kind of scenario, and I just got back yesterday, so, seeing it for the first time because 'cause I've been there, going there for 25 years, is they're just now starting to rebuild, and it's gonna be a long haul for those. I mean, they have, like, little small, pop-up homes, like these small, like almost mini homes, like, that they've put up.
Yeah,
But it took them a while to just even do that. So you start
yeah,
looking at like the burn area, in those areas, like what you're mentioning, like Pacific's Palisades and Altadena, like it's a big area. Like, it's
yeah,
massive. Like people don't think that it is like, did all of LA burn down? No, because that would be millions of people, but it is a very big area and a lot of people were affected, both wealthy as well as,
yeah.
working class and even now,
And their
you know,
pets and their animals and their
yeah,
schools.
everything. Like, yeah, all around it's bad. But let me kind of. Well, I knew we would kind of get off track here. Let me try to get us back on track, John. Okay, so when it comes to your brokerage, like getting your name out, of course, relate. Like, I'm not naive to know that in the industry, in your particular industry, it's heavily relationship based, right? So you are constantly, talking with people and building relationships, and some of these relationships may not come, if it comes to fruition at all, it may not be for years, right? It could be one of those scenarios. So
Absolutely.
outside of that, like what has been working outside of the relationship piece of
Yeah,
your business
yeah,
and the brokerage that you're a part of? What are you guys doing to, you know, get the word out about, like partnering with you guys for
well,
housing projects or whatever
yeah.
that might need to be?
I mean, we have great relationships with a lot of the developers and stuff, and it's kind of it's not always the case, but it's almost like an unwritten rule. If you bring the developer the dirt, the lot, the land, the deal, you will generally get the realist. And not always 1,000,000%, or they might have someone in their team, might be a co-list or something. So you want, so that's why it's so important to have your kind of ear to the ground, so you're aware of the what's coming on, what's not in each of these markets, luxury areas, for want of a better word, or wherever market you're serving actually, because you want to, once it hits the open market, the developers don't want to be in a bidding war. It's a very different. Although we'll get to the market, it's very different right now as well. It's crazy market. I've never seen nothing like it. But they want access to the prime lots or teardowns, whatever it's going to be, before they hit the market. And you often find yourself negotiating with the same folks, again and again. So those relationships that helps, that can help. But we're very, every broker is different. We're very tech forward. I like to think we do things differently. So, we do, I believe, like next level digital presentation. Anyone watching, please Google John Campbell Group, Revel, you'll see we do crazy videos, whether it's an entry level condo out in Timbuktu for 500,000, or which I know will buy you a mansion in many parts of America. I wish it did here. Or whether it's a 30, 40, $50 million plus somewhere else. So we do. So that's one thing I thought we're known for. We're very, uh, very tech forward, and the presentation is, next level. I like to think. Ben, the fan of our brothers, as I've said, he's kind of a disruptor by nature.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's kind of in the DNA of the brokerage.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of, and we're part of Side, and Side are also very tech forward. We have our office is like 5,000 square feet plus in prime Beverly Hills. So we're in a good position. We have a good reputation. So some stuff will come in via that, and then referrals, and sometimes like uh, what no one talks about in real estate before you get into it, or perhaps I wasn't listening. Is is that not? And someone said to me, but I studied for my license. 90% of this job is prospecting. 90% is your pipeline and servicing your pipeline, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm an actor. I know loads of people. I just sell to people I know, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that does happen on
Yes.
occasion, and lovely when it does. But even when that happens, they still have everybody here knows. I think I was reading somewhere, there's like something like, I think there's 1.3 million, you can correct me if I'm wrong, 1.3 million realtors in the US, I believe. And I believe there's like over 400,000 in California, So I don't know how many is in LA, got to be 100,000 more perhaps, It's
A
an
lot.
incredibly competitive market. So your sales techniques that are trusted, true, and tested. Everyone builds their book of business differently. Yes, you need the relationships. Yes, you need to know what's going on. Some people just do new construction. Some people just do, um, you know, first time buyers. Some people just do for sale by owners, foreclosures, whatever. We have a broad. We deal with absolutely anybody and everybody. I like to think. But your traditional ways to generate business, calls, texting, social media, mailers, postcards, all work. Expired, which is a lot more than that right now. Expireds and cancellations, and anyone coming into the business will find a way that works for them. And if you speak to 100 agents, you'll probably get 100 different answers. But for some people, cold calling, they love it. They're brilliant. They've got the psychology down. They have amazing scripts and dialogues. Some people are very they have processes and systems. They're super systemized, and whether you're selling 400 units a year in Boise, Idaho, or you're doing it in LA or anywhere else, those guys are incredible. They're like these. They're really
Mhm.
optimized business people. That's not happening by accident. They are
Yeah.
incredibly organized. They have whole teams and specialists in new construction over here, and the listings over there, and the buyers reps over there, and they have teams of handymen and contractors and expediters and
Yeah.
architects, and
Yeah.
depending on any time of the day. I'm talking contractors, handymen, painters, stagers, mold remediators, plumbers, and that's
Anybody would have some sort of an in, right, to a property.
yeah.
So how are
Not that, but also to provide that as a service for
yeah,
your client, because these, especially the high wealth folks, you think they ain't got the time, the bandwidth to be on scouring the internet or their assistant or
yeah, I need
whoever.
a plumber.
They want to say like, "We
Yeah.
need a plumber. Who do you recommend? We need what does." Well, they're more like they say, "What does the house need?" And you'll say, "Well, you looks like you've got some damp over here and some plumbing over there. You really should stage the place, blah blah blah." And they go, "Okay, can you make that happen?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
'Cause
mean,
they're
you
not in
will.
that
Yeah,
position, right,
yeah.
because of being in the weeds of all that stuff, like,
They
you know,
don't need.
that's how they got to where they are is because they're. So, where are you seeing AI, uh, in real estate these
Yeah.
days?
Yeah, yeah. It's not even tomorrow. It's here today. It's here today, every day. And there's new. As I try to be patient with cold callers and people that are marketing to me, because we are. Well, I use some lead services to get some leads, and we'll do some outreach, etc. We'll if we've got someone looking. Let's say, for argument's sake, someone's looking in the Beverly Hills flats for a house, and there's nothing on the market. We'll reach out to the homeowners and say, "Look, sorry to bother you, but we do have someone looking. It's what they're looking for. This is their budget. We're not talking about a lowball offer. Is there a price where you might consider selling?" And for a lot of some people, absolutely no price. But there's a lot of people that everything's got its price. If someone's prepared to pay X, maybe, and then you're trying to bring two pieces of the puzzle together. But there's all those. But I would say that we as real estate agents, whether you're selling 100 grand properties or 100 million, we're the most marketed to people, I believe, on the planet. So someone's trying to sell you a lead service, be it Zillow or one of the,
Yeah.
or someone, and everything from an AI ISA that's gonna potentially send a text, make a call, etc., to real people doing it, or perhaps you've got your own personal your assistants or your team making those calls. Maybe you've got a VA. Maybe you've got, like I say, there's so many different ways that all successful people they use bits of all of it, or maybe none, or just one thing. Who knows? But AI is here, and people are on the basics list. You can from the property descriptions, emails, marketing plans, strategies, that type of stuff. I'm sure there's people using more effective, but it's here to stay. And I'm sure there's well, it's just hard. You can't talk to everybody, but there's people offering services. You got to dig into, oh, we're going to bring these leads. Well, where are you getting the leads? Or maybe it's a Facebook ad, maybe it's a Google pay per click, maybe who knows what it might be. But now maybe AI has wrote that copy, has designed that copy, perhaps designed where they had the audience, who knows what. But in every part of real estate and probably every part of business and commerce, it isn't what's happening tomorrow. It's here now. It's
Yeah.
here now today,
Yeah.
you know?
It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out, in the luxury real estate sector. I can see it working. Most people think, "Oh, I'll just go to ChatGPT and, write, write this for me." Well, you could, it's not gonna be good. you know, but there's
It's as good as AI is as good as the quality of the prompts, right? It's as good
yeah,
as the information you give your personal digital assistant
yeah,
to help you with, you know. But I think, you know, circling back to you know, we're in the right now world, right? People's concentration spans are super short.
yeah,
I've been on social media. Said before, I've been acting like 30 years. So prior to coming to LA, we were digitally marketing and stuff. So for me, it was a small step to with your I say how old I am, but MySpace and Facebook and all that, and now it's Instagram and TikTok and who knows what. It was a small skip to switch to that. And a few years back, I was doing, and there's people making it work now. YouTube ads and YouTube marketing and in Instagram and God knows what. But there's a big AI component of that if you're up to date with it, if you choose there to be. But But, yeah, you know, at the end of the day, a few years back, I sold a few deals straight from Instagram, straight from Facebook. It was a great way to make that first contact. But now it's such a busy space. Everybody's on there. So you've got every expert is trying to sell you a new system every day. Every day my phone rings at least a few times a day. And then when you so I'll hear them out and I'll try and get them to break it down. And maybe they're doing Facebook ads that were generated by AI who picked a better audience perhaps, or better copy or better pictures or who knows what. Maybe that AI, some other companies are offering that AI makes the call. You know, that's very interesting. If that's not there yet, well, I know it's here. I don't know how good it is.
yeah. I would agree with you. It's not as good. You could tell it's not. Obviously, it's not a human, right? It just doesn't have the wherewithal to have the inflection or the way to respond in a way that you and I are talking right now. It's not
Yeah,
there yet.
yeah, if they have found a way to ideally, right, you'd love to have them being the first line of defense, first line of attack almost out there doing some of your prospecting or whatever. And if they can get it where they transfer the meeting to you to get on straight away, great, you know. But I found even before AI, I've tried using VAs and all of that, and it will get to someone. Imagine I'm chatting to you about your home, and you're half considering selling, or perhaps you are considering selling, or perhaps you a lifestyle thing you have to move. Who knows what? Um, but you might not be a real estate expert. You might be, but let's just for argument's sake say you're not, right? But you will be an expert on what's happening in your neighborhood. You will know that Ted down the street
Uh-huh.
listed his house. It's been on for 3 months and it hasn't sold. That's that elementary school down there is one anybody wants to be in, and that coffee shop everyone wants to have their coffee at, you know. So once someone chats to someone, and if they can, the hard bit is those initial, you know, those first conversations, and they get to the point of, well, what do you think my house might be worth, then, etc. Then, if I'm talking to somebody, I can say like, well, you know, the on the north side of the street is worth more than the south, and then this one sold for that, and this sold for that. So that give me an idea, but you know, we need to really come and see the property to see exactly, you know,
Yeah.
what it is and isn't. But somebody without that knowledge or that real estate background hasn't, you know, the more specific you can be, the better. And say, like, Fred at 123, so his house just sold for this, and that house just sold for that. So your house is probably worth in the region of this, but let's come and walk it to see. They haven't got that skill set. They
Yeah.
haven't got that knowledge. They haven't
Yeah.
got it. So they get as far as that and then they lose the thing. But if it's to a point where they just book in the meeting and you can then jump in and answer all those questions, then that's great. And there's so many different lead services out there that are offering everything from, well, we do cold texting so we do a call, we do a text and a call, and then ASI, and that call's recorded and you get to hear it and a meeting is set. But even then, following up, and I've tried, I think, almost everything, I think, at one time or another, most things. When you come to follow up, you know, someone clicked on something yesterday. Did they remember next Wednesday when the appointment is, or you speak to them? Or sometimes it works out. sometimes it doesn't. And then like any other sales funnel, you're nurturing those leads for perhaps a year, perhaps two. They might not be ready to buy now, but perhaps they're ready 3 months from now, 6 months from now, year from now, more likely. Which brings us to now. I hope I'm not cutting off one of your questions, but what's happening right now in the market? I can't speak for anyone else, but in our market, the weird, everybody waiting. If I have to bring it down to one word, it's waiting. So this it's very much shifting towards a buyer's market, or you could say it is a buyer's market, but the sellers are still hanging on to the same pricing. Price haven't really fell dramatically or anything here in the latest. They've gone more sort of sideways. And the super high end, there's still some bits moving there because they're not as, you know, they're not worried, somewhat worried about the interest rates, loans, etc. Most of those deals are cash, fun, believe it or not. But the buyers and the sellers are all waiting. So now you've got literally twice as many deals falling out of escrow. Very sensitive market from 12 months ago. I believe there's
Mhm.
20% more inventory. There's certain areas where a few years ago it'd be multiple offers bidding up, 10, 20, 30% over the asking price. And that still happens I that still happens in isolated sales here and there. Well, if someone really knows what they're doing, it's still like prepare it. Now it's a super sensitive, hyper sensitive market. Has to be prepared perfectly, painted perfectly, staged. Even the more regular house, painted perfectly, decluttered, painted, presented, staged, priced
Mhm.
properly, and then that could result in multiple offers. We have it, but not necessarily. But if something's just a little off, if it's just a little over, sitting, they rolled without the staging, sitting, they priced, just a little over the market.
Mhm.
But we do like I say, every part of the market. I literally just listed something for 1.5 million in Studio City a week ago. Now that's a great area, great family area, great schools over there, and it's a view home. So you're like, oh wow, this is, and we've done it, and we've done it all painted, staged, prepared. It looks great. It's a great price point, but things aren't really moving. So I expect it to be inundated. We've had decent foot traffic. We'll see. So I was personally at the well, it doesn't always happen, but I was personally at the first open house for one of my team, and I said, let me ring around. I know a bunch of we've done deals with a bunch of these agents. Let me just see what's happening. And I'm like, hey Justin, I see you've got 123 Green Street listed. I've just listed this one over here on Picturesque. Oh yeah, I saw that. Congrats, whatever. Yeah, what I see. I'm looking at what you've done. I like your marketing. I like your presentation. I like you've been on for 50 days. I mean, why is that?
Yeah,
Not
why? Yeah.
in a nice way. I'm just trying to, market
Yeah.
research really,
Yeah. You're not like, "Why?" You're like, "Well,
No,
yeah,
I'm like,
why? What is that?" Yeah.
I love what you've done. I love your marketing. I think you priced it appropriately. And they're like, oh man, JC, this is set for 2 or 3 months or whatever. It might be 150 days, 100 days. And these are agents who know their stuff, because as I said, it's so hyper competitive anyway. It's the same agents that are doing a vast majority of the business in certain areas, in all areas. And these are guys who know what they're doing, but the house is set because the seller would not put it on at the price or did not want to fork out for staging or did not want to,
Yeah.
and now you've got people I can't speak about, California, I believe, is I think it's the fourth biggest economy in the world. There's some incredible wealth here. There's a lot of homeless people here as well. And the regular folks, there's a lot of people in the industry here in the movie and TV industry. So we've had writer strikes, we've had actor strikes,
Right.
we've
That
had
was just
no
last year.
the last few years. It's like we've been under
The
attack
last
since
couple of years, yeah.
the pandemic. We had the
Yeah.
pandemic, it's like
Yeah.
end of days, famine, pestilence, fires, floods. What's going to be next? Insurance. Oh my god!
Yeah.
But But the regular folks, people here are probably everywhere. There's a recession going on. I don't know if anyone's talking about it or we're talking about it. There's a lot of people suffering some tough times. So forget about the uber wealthy. They're lesser, they're lesser affected. But the regular folks, prices are up across the board on everything, not just within the housing industry, but in
Yeah.
the in every industry. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of people out there having some tough times. So, and then add that I'm not an economist, I'm not a politician, I don't really lean in any particular direction, to be honest with you. But add in the fact we now have ULA tax, like a mansion tax that we have now in most of parts of LA. So that's affected parts of sectors of the market. But then you've got tariffs, so lumber costs have gone up. You got ICE rates and stuff, so the workforce.
Start adding it all together and it becomes a
Yeah, that
nightmare.
together, and and then interest rates, obviously interest rate. And like I said, I think I read somewhere that it might be, almost a state of emergency coming. Is the American dream still achievable? Go out, buy your house,
Yeah.
etc. But a lot of people know. And I tell you, and I have a bunch of great lenders that I work with all the time. And like I say, we service every price point. It ain't just the mega ones, it's everything in between. And they're saying that now like 50% of your mortgages is a gift. Someone are gifting a large piece of that deposit or co-signing the parents, a family member, somebody close, much, much more than ever before. Because
Yeah.
for new people, regular people, middle class, working class, whatever, trying to get into the market is so tough. And yeah, there are down payment assistance programs, but they're capped at a certain price point. So that doesn't work in a lot of our market.
Yeah.
And then you can put down 5 and 10% or free FHA, 3.5, but that again caps the price. They're more stringent on who can, who cannot
Yeah.
qualify for these loans.
Yeah.
And if you are only putting down, when I first got here, I bought a house with an FHA loan. Me and a buddy put our money together. Another actor, I met him in a class. We just cobbled our money together. We bought a little multi-unit, and we lived in a small one, and we rented out the big one. We were so over leveraged, it was ridiculous. Thank God it worked out. We still got that property, and they've expanded. Um, but and then also here's another thing, right? Not political at all, but there's the rental laws in California are so in favor of the tenants that many people are gaming the system. And if you have a bad tenant, it's very, very easy
Yeah.
to get them
They
out.
can't get them out.
And if you're
Yeah.
if
They don't
you're
pay.
that had been us back
Yeah.
then, we would have completely gone under. And I've helped out a whole bunch of people in the last, you know, 12 months. Close friend of mine, I helped him sell a sixplex in South Pasadena for about 3 million. Closed on Christmas Eve, actually, right? That's been that property. They're really good friends of mine, and that property has been in the family for over 100 years. It's like I wanted to call it the Shire when we marketed it because it's like a little. The hobbits could hang out there
Cool.
quite nicely. It's right by a school. It's very cool. We did sell it, but they had one bad tenant who uh, who hasn't moved in, didn't pay the rent for a couple of years. It's taken them a couple of years. They were 6 figures with a lawyer and just war of attrition. And it got to the point where a tenant requested a jury trial, and then every time they go to court, there wasn't a jury available, so it gets stayed. So some people just like, I just don't
Goodness.
need it. So so then there's a disc and then there's a discount. This is a very popular area. People want to be there. But they wanted a good discount to allow for they wanted to be compensated for taking on the pain of dealing with a bad tenant. And unfortunately, we're seeing that more and more. And by the recent one is Los Feliz. Over there, a $3-4 million house is a big number, and we made an offer on one at four something, 4.5 or something. And I feel for the people. it had been a foreclosure. I nearly said repossessed, as we call it in England. And the house had been repossessed. It was a foreclosure, but they had somehow put together some kind of contract with some friends and some the children's friends or something to say they had a legal right to be there as the tenants, where not really. And that was in court for over a year, and we never got it. Uh, and that was another issue. And then I had another one where someone paid a mortgage. They never paid another payment after the first year. Then when they got in there, it was so hard to get them out. It was a 2-year journey. And in the end, with the sheriffs coming and chucking all their stuff out. But when they left, it was a big house. And when they left, they took the solar, they took the theatre from the theatre room, it was like a Cornish stove, like a $40,000.
Just cleaned it out, literally.
And I've heard of far worse horror stories where they take the copper pipe in, it wasn't quite that bad, but they gutted the house of hundreds of thousands of dollars of stuff. And then it became bank owned. And on this particular one, we represented the bank, we did sell it. But the bank then put 24-hour armed security because they were scared of they coming back and moving back in. And then once they're back in, the process starts again. And I'm not, I'm
Jeez.
not a lawyer. I'm not but that has also hit the market hard. So people that would buy, hold, rent, that market is less because of these. It's
Yeah.
so tough when you get a bad tenant. And then on top of that, I don't be harbinger of doom. We're just talking.
Jeez, John.
I'll give it. I'll always give it to you straight. We'll do jolly stuff in it. We'll do jolly in a minute. We'll do the first half, and perhaps we'll get to jolly.
All right. Okay. Okay.
You've got all the you've because so much of this town is industry, movies, film, TV, etc. As though there was no tax breaks. I'm not making a joke on any of this. Was it good, bad, right, or wrong? I don't understand. I'm not an economist, right? But there was greater tax. The reason they started making movies here originally in California was because how many daylight hours there were. They could
Right.
outside the
The
smart place
weather.
videos,
Yeah. Yeah.
weather entirely. But now there's much. There were in the last few years, like in the pandemic. See, a lot of the big movies were being filmed in England because England just offered these amazing tax breaks for the producers. They could shoot the short arms. They can shoot their movies there much cheaper than they could here. Now that's happened in America. So now you've got places like Atlanta is a very very thriving movie film industry. Parts of Canada. They're building big studios in Nevada, in Cleveland, and different places. So the industry is moving out of California because there's no tax incentives. So they just passed a bill that's going to give $750,000 $1 million, I think, of funding of potential tax breaks for projects and stuff to lure the industry back because everyone was leaving. A lot of people were leaving, and even on the day to day, I've got lots of friends who are cinematographers and grips and crew guys, regular working fellas. Um, and a lot of those people that have bought here, I'm obviously very tied into the Brit community also. A lot of the Brits and a lot of people that bought here were getting my advice on where I thought the market might go because they were like, well, if we came here to work in Hollywood. If we're not getting any work here, I don't see the point of being here. And some of those people are going back to where they
Right.
came from, out of state, or back
Makes sense.
to
Yeah.
England or other countries or wherever. So I'd be interested to see if there's new incentive. But it's been across the board from the pandemic to insurance,
All the
fires,
stuff. Yeah.
floods,
Yeah.
landslide, you name it.
Yeah. Well,
Strike
let me
to
let me
strike.
ask you a question here. And we'll try to get back on target here because we're talking about a lot of stuff. If you could kind of wave a metaphorical magic wand and fix one thing about, the luxury real estate industry specifically, what would
Yeah.
that be?
Remove the mansion tax that was imposed a few years ago. Now, if you buy something, I think it's when it first came out, it was 5 million. It was two tiers, 5 million, 10 million. beyond 5 million, you were paying an extra from 5.5% from the seller of the sales price was being held back, and on his ULA tax, mention tax, and that money is allotted to go to help the homeless because a massive homeless problem
Yeah.
also, etc. Now people aren't did that money get there? I don't know. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. But what I can tell you is it drastically reduced. I can't remember the exact number, but it drastically reduced the sales of homes above 5 and 10 million. If they would be on 10 million, it was an extra 4%. So from nowhere, there's an extra
Dang.
4% coming out your back pocket. And then for your developers, they've now got to factor that in. So when you're getting in, when you're talking about $10 million homes, $20 million homes, and beyond, huge figure. So then you start seeing a lot of homes, people very smartly pivoting. So now they're building houses. I think it's 5.3 million now. Now they're building. Now you're seeing a house on the market for 5.2, 5.1, five
Mm,
million, or whatever it might be, because they want to duck below that, or 10 million instead of 12 or 13 or whatever it might be. Because that had a massive impact. And they're also saying that would help be with the far, because a lot of those homes in the Palisades, etc., many of those were far in excess of $5 and $10 million. Yeah, so
mhm.
for LA, that would be a big one for sure.
Is that so? That's just an LA
Yeah,
county
yeah,
rule or a law? Okay, not a
yeah,
California law. Okay. So
yeah.
here's kind of a couple more questions for you. Second to last question I have for you is looking back at your career in real estate, luxury real estate, and where you are now, what is one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh, that's a great question, man. What would be one piece? Have patience, perseverance, persistence, be able to win the war of attrition. Yeah, I think always try and be as authentic as you can be. Try and be as real as you can be, and treat everybody with a level of respect. You don't know, you can't tell, not even for you. Do it as to be a good human anyway, to be a decent human being. But from a business perspective, you can't tell the billionaire in his sweats, the ultra rich people, they're not wearing especially the designer this and that. They might be running around in a Tesla. They're in sweats. They're comfortable. I don't even want to thought of what am I going to wear today. They don't even want that decision made. They've got, yep, today I'll wear a black t-shirt and some corduroys or whatever it's going to be, and I'll wear that tomorrow. And Wednesday I'll wear my white t-shirt. Or who knows what? But be 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 professional in everything. Be excellent in everything you do, because I think how we do one thing is how we do everything. Be punctual. No one wants to be waiting. I don't want to hear traffic. I don't want to hear. Yeah, well, everyone knows there's traffic in LA. Why didn't you leave an hour earlier like we did? No one wants to hear it. So be professional, and that's part of being professional. Be punctual, be polite. No, be excellent. Be excellent is the best advice I give to anybody. You've got a meeting with a guy, whether it's 100 grand, $1 million, $10 million, $100 million. Know that mark. If you don't know it, study it. Get to know it. Learn. Hopefully, most people I meet, hopefully they've done their homework. They have an idea of who we are. Let's hope. So they would, the fact you've even got your foot over the threshold is a big deal. But don't go and undermine yourself because you're not aware of the comps. You're not aware of there's a shopping mall being pulled down over there or being built over there, or an ordinance or whatever it might be. Do the homework, do the research, be prepared, be as brilliant as you can be. If you're new to the industry, because we was all new at one point, then perhaps you partner with somebody more experienced who has got that level of knowledge, or you just go out of your way to get that level and be professional, be polite, be presentable, and be excellent. That could,
Excellent.
because people won't accept anything less. And why do they want to go with you when you're not as excellent as perhaps you could be? When there's probably 100,000 agents in this town.
Yeah.
There's guys
Yeah.
standing behind you with they're on TV. They've got teams of people. They've got 20 years of sales. They've sold billions with a B, billions of. They might have sold 1 billion last year. Their team might have in 1 year.
Yeah.
That's what you're up against. So
Mhm.
anything less than excellence is unacceptable. You know, in
Good
my
piece of advice.
your opinion, just
Yeah.
be the best that you can be. You ain't got to
Yeah.
be the best that you can be. Be prepared.
Be
You know,
good at the craft.
be good at the craft,
Simple as that.
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Know at least know what things are trading for over there. Know some recent sales. Know what the competition might be. Know what the challenges might be. Have access to so that if they're going to need painters and plumbers and stagers and blah blah blah. Orchestrate that. Chances are they'll do. The contract will be with the seller and Mr. Plumber, Mr. Contractor, Mr. Whatever. But make everybody's life as easy as you can, and then forget what you see on some of the TVs and shows. Be polite to everybody because if I've got somebody, there are some people, if you care. And I always say when it comes to negotiations, etc., I say to people, look, it's not my house, it's not my money, so let's put that aside. And what seems fair to
Yeah.
anybody, everybody, or maybe you've got a client that isn't especially fair minded, and I'm so sorry. This is what they want, and if you can't meet that or whatever, but don't be you're not in an ideal world. You're working with people, all in the same business, we're all trying to make a living, whatever we all use a bathroom the same way. There's no, we're all the same. It doesn't matter if you're Tom Cruise or you're Tom Thumb, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So be courteous, people with respect. I will far more want to do a deal with somebody I've worked with before who's reasonable, who's amicable, etc. There's some people out there that aren't. They think everything is a competition,
Yeah.
and I got one over on you, and it's a challenge. I don't think that's a career that's not going to end well or last too
Yeah.
long. I don't
So
believe.
be excellent
Along with people,
and be a good human.
be a good human being, man.
Be a good
No,
human.
treat everybody with the same level of respect, whether they're a billionaire. Whether I sit down with, I get called for advice by every type of people all day, every day, right? Some people I know, people I don't. Uh, some people have no idea. There's not. I'm from a working class blue collar background. There's not a lot of education in the education system. There's not a lot of training really on wealth management or how
Yeah.
how you wheel and deal, good debt, bad debt, etc., etc. Um, so some people come in and they got dreams of owning a home and what can we do and blah blah. And I say, well, if you don't mind me, I'll put you in contact with a lender. Will give you far more details, but what kind of what did you earn last year and blah blah blah. Maybe they earned 10 grand for the year. Someone else earns that in an hour. I get it, but maybe they, and they think they're going to be able to buy a house. And you're trying to explain. You don't need to touch upon it. I know to lend as soon as I can, but you try to explain to them debt to income ratios and what they need to earn and credit, or perhaps they've got excellent credit, but they have no income. Or
Yeah.
sometimes you see somebody at the other end, or maybe they write all their income off because they've got a great accountant and they're self-employed. They're a designer or director or who knows what, and they wrote it off. And I'm going, well, they don't. You can get bank statement programs. There are obviously programs out there, but it's like, well, if you wrote off all those taxes, although you told me you earned $1 million, but you only showed 100 grand on your tax return. That's what you earned. That's your number. That your
Yeah.
mortgage will be a percentage of that minus your exes, your debts, etc. And a lot of people don't understand even a small piece of that. So sometimes you're breaking news to somebody, man, I don't know if you earn enough
Yeah.
to get a house. Or sometimes you've got people the other end of the spectrum. They've got something and they own a massive piece of it, or perhaps they've got a jumbo payment at the end of their mortgage, or perhaps they've got, or they've run into hard times. They was in a good place, now they're over leveraged on their house, and they go, "Well, we've got, hundreds of thousands in equity." Yeah, but you've got no income, or no, you've got no way. If you can show you've got tenants that are paying 20 grand a month, or 10 grand or whatever it might be, and then there's some income there. But if you haven't got that, the lender needs to see you in a position to pay that money back. It's as simple as that. And a lot
Yeah.
of people don't realize that, a combination of your debt and your credit and your earnings.
Yeah. So, it's part of kind of what you do as a realtor is being excellent in your craft, being good, being a good human, but just taking the time to listen to people and understand who they are and just
Yeah, that's
if they need to
massive.
be educated, they need to be educated. And if they don't, then they don't. So, you know,
I could have answered your question, so I'm not the short answer, guys. I guess you're starting to work out. Is that I could have said,
what's funny
listen.
is I asked for one piece of advice.
One piece of advice could be listen very carefully. Really listen. Really listen to what's important to them. You know, is the fact that they've got a glass wall and a crazy view and a pool or room for the Ferrari? Is that their impetus? Or no, they've got the schools is everything, or access to where their grandparents live down the street. Like, we're all human beings. We're all just doing the best we can, trying to get ahead. So listen, really, really listen, not just talk
Mhm.
lip service. Really listen to what's important to those people and give them great advice, or even if they don't want to hear it. I believe, there's people out there. Well, I don't want to take an overpriced list, and I've done it. We've all done it, but it will just sit. It's a drain on your biggest commodity, your time. It's a drain on your finances. We spend a few grand on every single house, no matter what the price point, pictures, videos, walkthroughs, whatever. It's a drain on your time and your mental health and the stress of it. You've got a stressed out seller. Why has my house not sold? You told me when we first met. Blah blah blah. So I guess I have been the harbinger in the last
That's going to be the title of this episode, the harbinger,
harbinger of good.
harbinger of bad
Not
news.
really. Keeping it real is a better one, but I've had a few list appointments in the last couple of weeks because this is a great time. This is an amazing time. This is not a sales, this is real. It's an amazing time in the market to buy, because a few years ago in the LA market, things were bidding up 10%, 20% over the asking price.
Mm.
Right now, things are sitting. They've never set as much. I just
Come in,
heard
make
this.
a good offer.
Yeah, people are negotiating, taking big hits sometimes, but people are open to negotiation. That's the short answer. So it's a
Yeah.
great time to buy if you in a position to, you know.
Yeah.
But in the LA market, it's everybody's waiting. Everyone is just waiting as the everyone's waiting for them interest rates to go down. But the minute they go down, everybody's going to jump in, and now you've got to compete with
Now you got to
multiple
compete
offers.
again. Yeah. Makes
Got to
sense.
compete again. So
Makes
it's
sense.
but
Yeah.
listen would be another. If I had to give you a one-word answer, really listen so you understand. The guy probably ain't, unfortunately, the guy probably doesn't make enough money. So look, go away, save the deposit, talk to these lenders. They might have some plans that can help, assistance, who knows what, and they'll give you a strategy, and they might be fix your credit, save 20, whatever it might be. I'm not against the low down payment. I've done it myself. But then you have mortgage insurance, you have extra costs that
Yeah.
people,
All the stuff.
your
It's something.
payment can be insane. Now
Yeah.
your payment can be, I mean, people that are renting for a 2-3 grand a month. When in LA, that's a small apartment. Yeah, a house is 5, 6, 7 entry level, 10, 20, 30. And then they think they're gonna buy a place and service a mortgage to a similar amount to their rent. It's just not gonna
No.
happen. They can rent a house for 4 grand, they 4 or 5 grand, but the mortgage on that is going to be perhaps double that.
Yeah.
And that is an, another harsh reality. So I'm meeting people saying like, "We're going to sell." expectations unrealistic on the pricing right now, and they want to compare the price of their house. This one sold for this one sold for that. That one's brand new. It's a brand new house. It's not the same. This house was a $2 million remodel. These guys spent $40,000 on their stager. I know they used my stager. This guy spent. You want to not even get out a paintbrush and compare your house
Yeah.
to this. It's not apples for apples. You're trying to be delicate. I don't want to piss on anybody's parade. You want to be diplomatic
Yeah.
and
Well, that's
decent.
part of being a good human, is that you're saving them the headache
You're
of
saving them
like,
a
you don't
headache.
wanna do that because it's like a big old headache, right? So
So I've been saying it feels like all week I've been telling people the house is worth less, but I don't just say, well, because I'm such an expert. It's worth less. I say, look, I feel your house is worth less, and this is why. Here's the data. This one sold for this. This one sold for that. Yeah, but mine is blah blah blah. Okay, it is that,
yeah,
but it's
everyone
only
wants $1 billion for their
it will
house, like,
only
you know what
bear
I mean?
what it will bear,
Yeah.
you know? And you have
Yeah.
the odd trophy and yeah, but it's my house. My house is the greatest house in the world, and they will pay
Everyone's
you
house is always the best.
for you know, and that could be in every price point and human nature,
Yeah,
of course,
no.
we want the most, but the pricing is just a strategy to get people to the table. Is what happens after that is where the price is going to go. And much of the time, I'm trying to convince people to price lower. It's different if it's ultra high luxury or something, but in the regular market, to price lower to get that foot traffic and to get that interest. Someone will go the extra mile because they fall in love with the house and it will bid up than to go on higher. We need this much. I mean, yeah, but just go at this and you'll get that much. If you go at this, it might sit for a month or two, and now
Right.
it's wow. Everybody thinks it's
Yeah.
a house.
You know, like, for example, like, if you have a budget for $5 million max and you have your house, at 5.1, somebody's searching for 4.9 and
Yeah,
less, right?
yeah. They'll
So
probably go to five. It's generally round numbers and
yeah, yeah.
increments
But
of
you know what I mean, right?
5 or
Yeah.
250 or But yeah,
So
absolutely. They don't see the
yeah,
house. They
yeah.
don't see the
So they
house.
lose that conversation because of the way they price the
Well, if
house.
they went on at 4,795 or 4,995, whatever it might be, maybe maybe it got up to 5,300 or something because someone really wanted it, and then they found some money from somewhere. A family member
Yeah, yeah,
helped,
yeah.
so they sold
Yeah,
something else.
yeah.
And many of these houses you don't get, or many houses that I've not got, I don't speak for myself, that have gone elsewhere, they never sell. They just sit and sit and sit. Everybody
That's it.
sit was just that. But at that point, no one wants to come back and say like, I had one actually recently in a place called Beachwood Canyon, and I won't say the house, but I said to the guy, 2 million would be a good price, and we had just sold another house down the street for a record. Right, we just broke the record in the area, and I said 2 million would be a good price, and I always give advice on what for any improvements, etc. And yep, okay. And then last minute 2.2. Okay, well, I still think the two, but sure, you wouldn't do the 2.2 because there's 10 people standing behind me that will say 3 million,
Yeah, yeah.
and then last minute it went on for a few $100,000 higher than that. Last minute, I said, "But yeah, okay." It just set, and they said, "But you do. We've seen you. I'm very active on social media, etc. We've seen the videos, we've seen the this, we've seen the that, market reports, etc." Yep, but people will not pay more than especially in a market where everybody's waiting, right or wrong, for interest rates to drop or
Yeah,
tariffs to fall. What the hell is going on? There's a fire. There's an ice rate. My God, they just got shipped off to
yeah,
who knows where. So people, and then there are a lot of people that are having a tough time, and people go, "Oh, you know what? We're gonna just not quite sure what's happening. We're gonna batten down the hatches for a minute. You see, love you, but let's talk again in a year, or 6 months, or you're my guy, but we're not quite sure what's happening in the market and whatever." And it's a very confusing market, but the market here right now is hurry up and wait. Unfortunately, you know,
yeah.
hurry up and wait. Crazy.
Well, hey, you know what? Last question I have for you, and it should
Yeah.
be an easy one,
I'm gonna
is
try and make people think.
how do people find out about you? Where do they go? to
Yeah,
talk with you.
yeah, yeah. English guy talks too much.com. Um, John, John Campbell Group. If they do John Campbell Group, Revel Real Estate, or John Campbell Realtor, LA, Hollywood Hills, Beverly Hills, all roads should lead to me. But Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, etc., etc. John Campbell Group, Revel Real Estate.
I'll make sure I put that in the show notes so
Yeah,
people can get a quick access to you. And
yeah, I appreciate
if you're in the LA area and you want to be able to, you need somebody to help represent you and know what the deal is, John's your guy.
we give it to them straight, man. I'm not, going on too high. It's just in this market, it's just a kiss of death. It truly is. Or going on and not preparing your house for market. It's just
Yeah.
wasting time, yeah.
Well, that's the whole
Yeah, there's
point
all
of
sorts
hiring
of
somebody
services.
like you, right?
And there's all sorts of services now. Like some people might be property rich but cash poor, you know. So, well, we ain't got the money to paint and this and that. Well, now there's all types of services that I don't get any commission from anybody. We just make an introduction that will do these services now: staging, painting, fixing, and take the money out of escrow. It's almost like a loan, like a
Hmm.
lien against the property. There's different ways of structuring it.
Being creative.
There
All
are,
right.
but anything less than that, it's an uphill climb. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, John, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I know we
Yeah.
could probably keep going and keep going and keep going, talk about all sorts of fun stuff,
Yeah.
but I really do appreciate all that you're doing, and I really appreciate you spending time with me today. And would love to people get in contact with you if you're in the market to buy an investment property, whatever you need to do, sell your house.
Very
John's your
neat.
guy.
We're here to help, man, and we'll give you honest hope.
All right. Well, hey, that wraps up today's episode on the Rise Up podcast. Appreciate everybody listening. Until next time, we'll see you later.